What's up, guys? This is Adam from eSportsHeaven.com, and I'm here with one of the most prolific esports journalists today, Jacob Braille-Wolf. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
It's exciting to be here, man. This is a step up from last year for sure. So, is this your first Evo?
This is my first Evo, yeah.
How does it feel, man?
It feels really nice. I did CEO a few weeks ago, so this is just like CEO on steroids, basically. But it's really enjoyable. I'm having a good time. I've been in Vegas since Wednesday, and yeah, so I'm getting to cover it now, to do written interviews for ESPN. It's a good time.
Yeah, so you're just here doing just written stuff, making more articles and all that?
Yeah, that's my primary focus, is basically do all the written stuff for ESPN.com. So.
Okay. Now you've been to a lot of places on the wonderful internet. You've written for a lot of different sites. Tell us a little bit about your origins, where you came from. I'm gonna guess that's a little bit familiar, close to home for me.
Yeah. So in November of 2014, I was on Richard Lewis's show Trash Talk. And Richard followed me on Twitter afterwards, and basically from there I asked him where could I write, and he said Esports Heaven. I had read Michael's work before, so I was very familiar, Michael being Drexen, and so then I messaged Drexen, or like just Twitter added him. I always like laugh at this because literally I still do the same thing today. When I want an interview and someone doesn't follow me, I just do like @hey, like, do you have time? I'm like here, right? It's like no shame at all. Right. So I like added him and I was like, hey, do you have any open spots for writers? And he said, yeah. So like we talked, I submitted a few pieces, and the next thing I know is a volunteer at Esports Heaven, which is really cool. And then from there, I got a freelance job at Gfinity, which is the like big tournament organizer in the UK. Right. And they paid me pretty well. And then from there, I went to the Score Esports as a freelancer. And then after the Score Esports, I got picked up by Daily Dot. And I was with Daily Dot for a year, and then I switched. One day after my 1 year anniversary, I switched to ESPN. So,
yeah, you're in the big boys club now.
It was definitely an interesting progression. I'm very happy with where I am at the moment. So,
now, if I recall correctly, when you were first at Esports Heaven, you were at college, right? What were you doing at the time, like, and how did you make that transition to what seems like to be a full-time gig now?
Yeah, so when I was at Esports Heaven, actually, like, I did a summer, when I stopped studying, it was summer of 2015, and I was in a full semester when I was at Esports Heaven, and basically, like, I got my first contract job while I was studying computer information systems in college, and that was, like, I thought that esports could be something for me, and I thought I could do a really good job at it, and so I made a bet with my mom in May of 2015 that if I can make a living at this by end of summer, I want to leave school and give this a go and see how it worked out. So I obviously won the bet, and so then like, so like I just kept going, and then Daily Dot converted me from contractor to full-time in December of last year, and then like that became this. So and this is my full-time gig. I moved to Connecticut to work with ESPN. That's my home now, is in the Hartford area. And so I'm like in the office almost every day, and when I'm not, I'm working from home. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you mentioned that, for a young person, like I guess like both of us are, like we're still young. A lot of us are still in college, like trying to figure life out. And you've been moving to like place to place. I recall for Daily Dot, you moved to Texas, and now you're in Connecticut. Has it been really hard for you to like, I guess, constantly adapt to working for new sites, moving to new places, leaving old friends behind, trying to make like a new place of your own?
Adaptation in terms of writing elsewhere isn't that difficult. Daily Dot was a lot more entertainment journalism focused, so like they were a little bit more traditional in terms of like entertainment journalism, and that was like their style. ESPN's a lot more sports journalism, so it's a little bit more straightforward and not whatever. Like it's yeah, so like it's not nearly as like fluffy, and especially in news, it's very direct. So it's been a little bit easier for me to like kind of just trim down my work and like do it in much shorter, and like not have to explain nearly as much. So I've enjoyed that aspect of it. So adapting to different sites has not been hard at all. Like I have the inverted pyramid down very well. I understand how to tell news as a story, and I'm continuously learning, of course, but like that's not been hard. The moving's been really difficult. I paid for myself to move to Austin, actually, out of my own pocket, and that was pretty much the majority of my savings since I'm so young. It was definitely worth it. I really enjoyed it. I've met the girl that I like would consider the love of my life, like in Austin, and we're still together, and so it's really great. But like the Connecticut move was really difficult. I'm very happy with the job. The job is well worth it, and I'm very glad that I'm in Connecticut. But overall, like, it was really difficult. I had to ESPN obviously assisted because that was the thing, but like in the entire thing, like car had to be towed halfway across the country. Stuff had to be towed halfway across the country. I had to fly to E-League in the middle of a move to cover, and like it's been really difficult adjusting, especially in the Northeast since I've never been there. And I'm sure winter will be really hard. But yeah, I mean, like ESPN as a staff, like they've been very supportive to me. They helped me with the move. Yeah, they want the best for me, and so like this one was a lot easier than the Austin one in terms of like getting there and getting set up. But overall, like it's definitely like a culture shock, I guess is the best way to explain it.
I'm going to tell you right now, man, the winters, especially where you are, they're going to be brutal. I'm letting you know right now, so be prepared. Now,
really big fur coat, so I mean, we're going to go with that.
At least you're prepared. At least you're prepared, man. So you're here covering Smash, and as you said, you started in League. Have you kind of just expanded to just have a love of all esports? How has that transition occurred?
So if it's news, then I cover it. Like basically, if it's anything news, I cover. But when it comes to feature writing and like my actual interest, it's League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Overwatch, Super Smash Bros. And Call of Duty, in no specific order. I would say Counter-Strike is my favorite game at the moment, with Smash being second. But like overall, like that's what I enjoy writing about when I do features or when I do events. That's what I like going to. And that's what I've had the opportunity to do many times. E-League, DreamHack Austin, this, CEO, and I'm sure I'll get to do more in the future. But like, yeah, I mean, I still do anything news-wise, and like League of Legends, I still do news on it all the time. So my love for League has declined a little bit, like in terms of the game, but I'm still very well connected. I still talk to people in League of Legends every day on Skype, and yeah, I mean, it's very much so like those 5 games for me at the moment. And Overwatch obviously being the newest one, which is something I've become very well connected in very quickly through meeting all the team owners, some which come from the League of Legends industry, so it was very easy, or Counter-Strike. And yeah, so I've kind of just adapted to those 5 games, and then anything that happens esports news-wise, I'm always on top of it. So.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Overwatch, and we gotta ask the big question. What's the deal with it, man? Is it going to be big? Is it really the next big esport? Is it going to be the League of Legends killer? What's it going to be? I know a lot of people have the certain arguments to and for against, so I want to know what you think since you're so interested in the subject.
You know, the thing is with Overwatch, at least in my experience of playing it as a game, you never get bored of Overwatch. So, like, I've played so much since the release, or actually, like, since I moved to Connecticut, because it released while I played beta before I moved, and then it came out while I was in the process of moving. So as soon as my computer got there, I bought Overwatch that night. Like, I set it up, and I bought Overwatch. And, like, I've never gotten bored of it. I'm constantly playing, like, Widowmaker and Hanzo are, like, some of my favorites, and I'm sure I'll play a lot of Ana. But like it's such a really fun game, and I feel like the esports side of Overwatch, Blizzard really wants to go all out and do a good job with this, and so that makes me really hopeful for it. They definitely need an esport that besides Hearthstone that does a really good job, and even Hearthstone is like at the moment like the esports side of Hearthstone's more about streaming, so they really need something that will blow up, and I think this is their best shot at it. And I think the arena FPS genre is really fun, and you can almost never get bored of it. So I think that's why people still play Team Fortress 2 to this day, is because it's just really enjoyable, right? So like, I feel like Overwatch is bringing all the best like arena shooters and like people that have interest in doing it on PC and like bringing them together to play the game. And so I think PC Overwatch will definitely expand as an esport, and I hope to see it grow. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the same thing. As you said, Blizzard, I don't want to say they dropped the ball, but let's face it, everyone really hyped up Heroes of the Storm. It didn't quite catch on. StarCraft isn't in its best shape. It pains me as a very big StarCraft fan. Do you really think that Blizzard has learned from their mistakes, or do you think that maybe we're going to see the same old from them?
I feel like Blizzard has learned from their mistakes. I feel like MOBAs are a very hard genre to get in the first place. We see so many people try and do it. We saw like Hi-Rez try to do it with Smite. We saw Blizzard try to do it with Heroes of the Storm. You constantly, and now Epic Games with Paragon, if you've ever checked that out. I got to play some of the beta. It was a pretty fun game, but I don't know how it will do as an esport. I feel like MOBAs are very hard to break into, and I feel like Heroes of the Storm just like, it hit a cap and it just went back down. And like it's unfortunate because it's a really good game. It's like pretty enjoyable, and it's easy for the viewer to understand. And I mean, I still like, I never really covered it, but I've written a few pieces on Heroes, and I know we have some really good great freelancers at ESPN that do Heroes, especially for bigger events. But like, I feel like they will learn for their mistake. I think StarCraft 2 is one of the best esports ever built, like StarCraft in general. It's one of my favorite games to play, but overall, I feel like it's just like, process of elimination with with Blizzard trying so many different esports tactics. And I feel like they finally brought in some good people to do it well with Overwatch. A person that comes to mind is a guy by the name of Nate Nancer, and he's the head of like Overwatch esports for them at the moment, and kind of doing everything with all the teams, doing everything with all the competition. I've got to talk to him a few times. He seems like a very intelligent guy, and I really hope that he can like lead the charge for them in Overwatch, because they need it. Like, I think it's something that they could do a really good job with.
Yeah, I certainly agree. They definitely have the casual side down. Like, I don't think people are ever going to stop playing that game for a while.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
You never get bored of Overwatch. I play probably 4 hours a day with friends, and it's just really fun for me. Like, I enjoy it, and it's in esports. So like, the thing for me with esports games, like, I always try to be very competitive. I don't play much single player games anymore. I literally play like Smash and Counter-Strike, and then like now Overwatch, and yeah, and like occasionally Call of Duty, because that's where my roots are, like as a gamer. But overall, like, because they're esports and because I cover them every day, I usually like to get away from them at like when I'm on my personal time. But not like that at all with Overwatch. Overwatch has been very fun.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Overwatch addiction is a very real problem that can occur in the future. I think that's something that we can all say. There's a lot of things I want to ask you, but one thing I do want to mention, you know, we've had people like Richard and Thorin describe themselves as certain archetypes of esports journalists. Richard always said he wanted to be the one that lifts the veil, and Thorin's always thought of the esports historian. Do you think of yourself in any certain manner, in certain context, as an esports journalist?
Do I think it's myself as an esports?
In a certain context of an esports journalist.
You know, honestly, my goal, like overall, in esports journalism is basically to progress it to like a further height. So I think Richard did probably the best job of it in actual journalism. I think that Thorin's a very good writer, but I think he's more of a historian / like a historical writer than he is a journalist. So like, journalism at its core is what Richard did, and I think Richard did an amazing job at it. He was my mentor through the majority of my career, and like, so much respect for him, and I'm so glad he's happy with Turner. But I feel like I can kind of pick up where he left off, and like, I feel like I've done a very good job myself, and all I want to do is learn, and I want to continue to learn, and I want to continue to help other people progress. So when I want to see more people, and like, I'll just say this, like, I want to see more people get into the actual journalism part of esports, because there's not a lot of people into it, especially the breaking news part that I do. Like, there's almost no one else at the moment, and so it's really like, it's a little disheartening, but at the same time, I want to see more people get interested, and like, the best place to start in that is literally just talk to people, and you'll find stuff out. Like, literally talk to as many people as you can. Like, events for me is running around and meeting everyone that I can. Doesn't matter who they are, because like, one day they might be able to help me, like, and I might be able to help them, and like, make a mutually beneficial relationship. So I feel like my part in esports journalism is basically to like continue on in the investigative part of it all, because I feel that's very needed. Otherwise, things could get a lot more chaotic in esports, and I feel like overall, if the things that I learned, the experience, and that's what's a big draw of me going to ESPN of all places, is so many people that are experienced that I can learn from. And so I think the more that I learn, the more I can help push this field, because I feel like it's got a very long way to go, myself included.
I mean, I have to agree with you there. Like, there's still so many people that are doing like freelance things like that. There's so many different issues that we could all address in certain other ways. But as you said, you work for ESPN now, and that's a sign. You know, we're obviously moving towards the main culture instead of being a subculture. What do you think about that transition for esports, and how long do you think until we see it, like, let's say, reach a next step, or what do you think is the next step for us?
You know, I think we're in a very good path at the moment. I know a lot of people, and I agree with Richard on this. He said it on his show the other day. A lot of people say, "Hey, we've made it," and I feel like we haven't made it, actually. I feel like we're in a very good spot, but I feel like we haven't made it to where we should be. So I feel like ESPN coming in is great. I feel like Yahoo coming in is great. I feel like Bleacher Report / Turner coming in is a really good thing as well. I think everybody coming into the ecosystem is good, and I think that's a good thing, but I don't think that's grounds to say we made it, right? Like, I feel like we can continue moving up, and I feel like things like Street Fighter being on ESPN2 on Sunday is great. And I'm very excited to be able to experience that and watch that, and for the viewer to experience that back home. But I feel like we have a long way to go, and I'm not exactly sure where that is, because esports is so new, and esports is a business that has never been done before. It's not similar to any other sport in the way it grows, and so I'm not sure where we're going. But I'm very excited that more and more people like ESPN and like Yahoo and like Turner are getting into it, and that are really genuinely interested in helping this industry, and it's great to be a part of that.
I completely agree. Even though it seems like we have made a lot of progress, and we have so many incredible people coming into the system, I just think that there's so much room for growth. I mean, sky's the limit with us, especially being gamers and all that, and just being part of this new form of entertainment that it's really hasn't been seen before, and it's just growing so much.
No sport has this amount of, like, see, like 15,000 people is pretty normal for a sporting event, right? But like, this happens all the time, and that's like the consistency with that many people. There's like very rarely a sport that goes year round, and like honestly, I've always described it as each esport game is its own sport. So like they're individual, and to the fact where like this is only 9 of them out of like the 20 that are around. The fact that like the League of Legends World Championship has been huge for forever, and the fact that like the Counter-Strike major in Cologne week before last was such a big deal. I feel like that this is just the beginning, and I feel like EVO is great for fighting games. I feel like this is the right path for fighting games, and I feel like more and more people will support it. But like no other sport, we're all under the same umbrella together, and we're all basically individual sports. Like each game is an individual sport under the same umbrella, esports. So like I feel like in esports is an industry, like in 10 years time it's going to be gigantic. Like
right. I again,
I don't think that compares at all.
Completely agree. Like I said. Now, as you said, you're a big Call of Duty fan. That was your roots, right? And the scene has gone through its up and downs recently, but like there's no more MLG now. It was bought by Activision. How do you think that's going to shake up the scene? Where do you see the scene now and it progressing forward?
Well, I feel like the Activision Blizzard acquisition is great for MLG because they really like now they have the financial backing of a really big company and it being the developer. So MLG Anaheim, to my understanding, was very good. MLG Orlando is coming up pretty soon, which is a big COD event. I think that will be fine. And I'm really excited to get to see what they do with the COD XP this year, which is like their big experience in the World Championship for CWL. COD is interesting. It's very young, and so it's very inexperienced in how a lot of the growth happens. But I feel like COD as a game is very easy for someone to understand. It's a standard like 4-on-4 shooting game. It's very, very easy for a viewer to understand, and I feel like COD is going to continue to grow, and I feel like MLG having the backing of Activision Blizzard is only a good thing. So.
Yeah. Like I said, I hope they grow back, and I want to see the MLG Pro Circuit back, like where we had like 5 games each thing. That'd be fantastic to see, especially for the North American scene that doesn't seem to get as much love as.
I think it's kind of difficult. I think it's easy for like COD and Halo. I think it's really difficult for everything else because like the Smash scene wants to kind of do its own grassroots thing, which is cool. It's very good. Street Fighter is kind of the same way, and like League of Legends is exclusively licensed by Riot, so that's not going to happen. And like Counter-Strike, they do stuff in Counter-Strike. MLG Columbus was amazing. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go, but like I watched from home and it was great, and I knew people that went, so it was very good. So I feel like they'll do some stuff in Counter-Strike. And I hope MLG Columbus wasn't the last hurrah for them in CS. So, yeah, I feel like I would love to see a pro circuit, but I think that what they're doing with Call of Duty is definitely good. I think it's going to continue to get better as well.
Yeah, I hope it grows too. I mean, the more bigger, better esports we have, the better for everyone. So you are a journalist now, and we've seen other journalists like Thorne and Richard. They transitioned into like being personalities, analysts, commentators, things like that. Do you see yourself ever making that transition, but still maintaining your journalism side, or?
You know, I don't know if I would call it a transition. I think I'm really young, so I don't have all that much of an end goal. My end goal in my head is basically to be the best journalist I can be, and then also expand my brand like as a journalist and like networking with everyone. I think it's totally possible. And I've seen the growth so much, even since joining ESPN, it's been just completely up. And so I definitely, I don't think it would be a transition at all. I think I'm very true to my roots. I know esports journalism makes me a little upset at times when, teams come at me or that kind of stuff. It definitely frustrates me sometimes, but I took a vacation recently and I came back and I was the most motivated I've been in a year. And, I just grinded out content that week and just broke so much news. And, I don't ever see myself walking away from this fully at all. And so I think I'm doing a podcast right now for ESPN, which you can find on our ESPN audio part of the site, and that's really great. I love doing that, and I kind of miss doing so much video stuff with Daily Dot, but I don't think I'm ever going to walk away from journalism, and I think that everything else I do will be in addition to journalism, and I think that my journalism career will back up everything that I have to say, which is very important to me. I want to be taken seriously, and I think I've worked very hard to be able to reach that point. So
That's incredible, man. I'm so glad that you got that motivation back after your vacation.
It was so great. Like, I went to Orlando for CEO, and then I stayed like a week after. And like the first 2 days of the week, I worked remotely and filed leftover content from CEO. And literally the rest of it was Disney World and my girlfriend for the rest of the week. It was so great. I'm so glad I got to do that, and thank you for ESPN for letting me have the time off, because it was to the point where like I didn't have any vacation. Even I haven't had vacation in like 3 years, and even then like overall like it was very interesting in terms of just not having no vacation and just continue to do journalism. I've not had a vacation since doing esports journalism, and I definitely needed one, and so it was really nice to just relax. And I've come back really motivated, and Evo, I hope my work shows that like here as well, because yeah, I'm here to cover it, and I'm here to do a good job, so that's what I hope to do.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you that happened. So if you had to say some things to the people who were maybe aspiring esports journalists, people are thinking about it, what would you say to them? Maybe words of advice. Just what would you say to them, man? Like about what the industry is like, about what it's like to work. Why do you do it?
So I do it because I love it, and I'm not exactly sure where that love comes from. I didn't ever expect myself to be a journalist, rather. In fact, like I was offered to manage my high school newspaper when I was 16, and I turned it down because I really didn't have any interest in doing this kind of stuff, which is really weird. But I've always, like in English class and everything, I always wrote best about things that I enjoyed writing about. So it makes sense for me that this works out, because I enjoyed esports and I wanted to write about it. So it made sense. And Richard and Thorin and Michael and Kelsey Moser and a few others, like they all inspired me to kind of get where I am and to make me do what I want to do. But the reason I do it is because I feel it's something I love, and I feel obligated to the esports scene to provide them with the best coverage I can, especially in the news, like breaking news kind of stuff. And for like people that want to do this, especially in like my form of journalism, like the breaking news style stuff, and just like being what we call at the office a hound, is to be a hound, you just have to meet people. Like if you get an opportunity to go to things like this, or even locals, if there's like top players there, literally say hi to everyone and introduce them by name. Chances are they'll follow you on Twitter. You can start talking to them. Meet everyone and just build your network. And that's one thing I don't see many esports journalists do, like new ones, that I really wish they would. And I know a lot of people are introverted. I'm the exact opposite, but if you couldn't tell. But like overall, just build your network, meet as many people as possible. People are really friendly in esports, and build friendships. Don't just go into it being like, I'm a journalist and I want to find everything. Because if you do that, which a lot of people want to do, then you're like not going to get very far, because not many people who are going to know who you are, and they're not going to want to talk to you. So overall, become friends with these people, help them out. Like there's so many times that like people that help me out, I help them back. And like it's just the small stuff, like whether it be like a player recommendation, hey, this player's on the market and like you wanted to get into this game, here you go, like here's a connection. Like it's the small stuff, like, and that helps them, and then they can help me later. And so like I feel like it's actual friendship that matters so much in esports. And like having friends, like I get to see some of the top players here and they immediately give me hugs, and I get to see so many of my friends. Like they're not just players to me, they're my friends, and so they're comfortable talking to me and like working with me, and that's it. Like it's literally becoming friends with as many people as possible, and like maintaining those friendships. Don't just do the thing where you like get their contact information and never talk to them again. Interact with them on Twitter, add them on Facebook, talk to them on Facebook regularly. Just be a friend, and like people will come to you. And so be a friend and just like do your best. And yeah, I mean, like it's all about that. There's no secret formula. I've always tried to tell people that I didn't have like a secret formula. Richard did for me, like he promoted my name a lot on shows and stuff, but like Richard never gave me stories or anything, like, and Michael never gave me stories. None of my editors like really ever pushed me in any directions. They kind of just let me do what I did, and it's been a real pleasure working like that, and it's just made me want to have a lot of self-motivation to continue doing what I'm doing and find as many stories as possible.
That's incredible advice, my friend. Incredible stuff. So I don't got anything else to say, man. Are there any shout-outs you want to give, words you want to say to your fans? How can your fans follow you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Jacob N. Wolf. N is in Nathaniel, which is my middle name. And then same thing on Facebook, facebook.com/Jacob N. Wolf. And then obviously shout-outs to ESPN and ESPN eSports. They've been such a good family to me, and I'm so very happy to be working with them. You can follow, obviously ESPN is at ESPN, and then ESPN eSports is at ESPN_eSports. Shout outs to like Darren Kalinsky, who's my boss. He's here somewhere doing something. Shout outs to Rachel Gu and Christina Kelly, who are back home in Connecticut, who are two of our editors. And shout outs to Tyler Erzberger, Fionn, who's my colleague who works in LA. They've been also welcoming. And shout out to everyone else at ESPN that kind of like dabbles in our department and helps out. Or like has some kind of position in the department that was there at ESPN originally. They're also so good people, and I'm very excited, and I've been very pleased to work with them for the past 3 months. It's been the best experience I've ever had in my life. And also shout outs to the Daily Dot people, Kevin Morris, Syra Mueller, Efren Salinas, all of them. They are very much a part of why I'm here and how I got this far, and their motivation and their assistance in helping me learn as a journalist pushed me very far. And I don't know if they're here, but if they are, they're all getting hugs. So, and to my readers and to my fans, as always, I want the best for you guys, and I want to provide the best of my services to you all, because that's who I'm writing for. I'm not writing for teams. I'm writing for the reader, and I'm writing for the reader's interests. So anything that interests them, if you have anything to say to me, always, hit me up on Twitter. If you want me to interview someone, I'll do my best to make it possible if I have the time. And overall, that's what I want to do. I just want to continue to be the journalist I am and grow. And I'm almost to the point where I wanted to be a year and a half ago, and I'm proud of that. So I'm really happy that I've gotten this far. So obviously, shout outs to the ESPN people again. And shout outs to you for interviewing me, and all the eSports Heaven crew. I miss you guys so much. But it's been quite the career so far, and I'm very thankful that everyone's supporting me. So shout outs to the reader, the viewer, the fan, whatever you want to call yourself. Shout outs to all you guys. You know who you are. And shout outs to the ample amount of friends who I have, who I talk to on a daily basis. They just give me the support and stroke my ego a little bit, but you just push me to go as far as I have, and continue to do so.
We miss you too, man. We definitely miss you too. Thank you so much for the interview, man. Stay tuned to esportsheaven.com for more coverage of EVO 2016. We'll see you guys.